it will automatically open for you. Can you see that? So it's automatically open for you. So, and that is it. And we are good to go. So now today we are going to talk about different data types and different operators that you encounter in Python, programming. And when you're talking about data type, when you are working on Python, you make use of is either you have a data already you want to work on, or you want to input a new data. So there are different type of data, and there are different ways you attend to all of them. The way you attend to a data that says hello lib student is different from a data that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means what I'm saying is the way you attend to alphabetic data is different from the way you attend to a numeric data. That's what I'm saying in a simple term. So we have different data and different operators. Operators are those functions, let me put it that way, that we make use of on Python to do different activity, to do different job. So for example, now, if I look at it now, I say, hello, lib student. And I say print hello lib student, print, are you happy? This print function is a command that you use when you want to know the value or the content of a particular function or variable. Look at it now. I said print. Let me change this. Let me just print. Let me just say, hi guys. Just say hi guys. Can you see? So now the print function will be the one that is the information I'm giving to laptop, to the Python. Then the next thing is to press your Shift Enter. You can press Shift Enter, or you can click on this run code. Either you press Shift Enter or you click run code. So can you see, this is the information I'm giving to Python, and Python is printing it out for me as hi guy. But let's assume then another thing, when you are using this, I'm going to talk about it. When you are typing a statement or in an alphabetic input, it has to be in inverted comma. Are you getting me? So if you want to look at this now, I have a single comma here, single inverted comma here. I also have a single inverted comma here. So when you want to do, it's not that you don't have two inverted comma here and you put one here. If I should run this now, look at it, it will give me error message. Can you see? Because Python does not understand this. So if I'm using two inverted comma, I should also use two here. If I'm using one here, I should use one here. If I'm using three, I should use three here. You can use it says file this syntax error. Syntax is the way for Python to say, I don't understand what you are putting in me. I do not understand it. So it says syntax error. And if you look at it here, it gives me this something like this particular logo to show that this is where the problem is. And it says EOL scanning string literal. So what I'm trying to show you there is next time, just is that you have it as this. Can you see now? No problem. Or you have it as this. So you have to be, sorry, excuse me. You guys have to be, can you see now? So when I click run, there is no problem. So it is the print that we say, okay. So what you are saying here is you are telling the Python to say, okay, can you please print hi guy out for me to see. If you do not put the word, if you do not put print, let's see what will happen if we do not put print, and let's run. it still shows, right? But because we have this comma there, let's remove the two inverted comma and let's run. Can you see? It says there is a problem because this is we call this a string. We are still going to discuss this better as we go. So guys, you can put it print, or you don't use print, but it's better you use print because there are some that won't work except you use print. So to save yourself of confusion, you always put print. So guys, can you see that? Now, this is now look at this now. This is a comment. The Python interpreter ignores it. Comment, so anytime you put, like I said last time, anytime you put this hash up, the Python program sees as a comment. It's not going to see it as a command. There's a difference between a comment and a command. That is why it's called Jupyter Notebook. You can put notes and you can also put command line. So this is anytime you put this, anytime you put hash, let's put hash behind this and press run. Can you see? It's because of hash, the Python did not see this as a command. It only sees it as a what? As a note. So anytime maybe you are doing some work and you want for clarification, you want to put, okay, this is why I'm using this. You just put some note up there. Can you see? So anytime you have hash behind, the Python interpreter, that means in Python interpreter is the software in Python that converts whatever you put into an output. So that's it. So once you have hash, you see it as what? As a comment, and the interpreter will ignore it. It won't, because you already put hash. So comments are just notes for you to read to help understand your code. It's as simple as that. So when you are doing some work, when you are doing some data analysis for a particular project, you can put notes so that you can understand this note maybe after some years or months when you are using that code again. So that is the purpose of that. So for best practice, it is good to add a comment to every couple of lines of code to explain what is going on and why. It is always good to add a command on top of yours, to add a comment to every lines of code that you are working with, so that next time, after some times, when you go back to read again, it should be easier for you to understand what is happening. As you can see, what I have here, even this, if I'm not explaining anything and you are using this note on your own, I'm sure by the time you are reading, you'll be able to understand, okay, this is what Dr. Kenny said, okay, this. So I already put that note for better understanding. So you have to be amazed at how quick you forget your code. Can you see? It is easier to forget. These things are volatile. But when time you are working with a Python command that you are putting down, always add a comment so that after some time, when you are working with that same code again, you will not forget. You will remember whatever you have done in the past. So now let's do some mathematics in Python. Like we have here, we can decide to say, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. Just add two integers. Now in Python, there's what everybody know what an integer means. An integer is a whole number. So you can say, let's change this to, let's say, 7,450 plus 6,782 = 2. Can you see? Python is helping us to do that. So you can use this in place of your calculator. To add two integers, this plus this, gives you this. If you use a calculator, you are still going to get the same thing. Let's try let's add something. Let's try one more thing. Let's say we are looking for let's say 1 million. Let's use a very big number plus 13. Let's put a very big number and let's add. Can you see? Automatically we have the value, the answer. Can you see that? That's how Python can be used for mathematical work. So another thing we can use it for is multiply two integers. You can multiply as many integers as you like. Look, if you look at this, so in Python, the asterisk, that's shift, you press shift and 8. That is what gives you the asterisk, and that is the sign for multiplication on Python. So 2 asterisk 3 asterisk 3. So gives us what? 18. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3, 18. Let's change this. Let's use some large number, right? Space, press asterisk, and press and run. It's either you use run or you use enter shift. Can you see? So it can multiply 2 integers for us. So in this case, space does not matter. You can decide to put space, you can decide not to put space. It's still the same thing. And as you can see, can you see whether you put space or not? Space doesn't matter, and you can see space don't matter here, but keep them consistent for readability. So whether you put space or you don't put space in this Python mathematics, it doesn't make any difference. But the thing is, you have to be consistent. I advise you are running code, try to be consistent. If you decide to put code, if you decide to put space throughout the whole thing. If you decide not to put space, don't put space throughout the whole period of you writing your code. So be consistent. So you have to be consistent. So can you see that? Another thing is you can use this to also do a kind of division. You can divide 2 numbers. You can use it as we have here 10.1 divided by 5. Can you see? So let's change this. Let's try another. Let's try just if you want to write another cell, just click on this plot. Let's use some large number. Let's say 1, 2, this, right? And this is the backstroke is the sign for division. And let's say 100 and this, and press hit enter. Can you see the value? So you can use it for division. It's also do division of numbers. We can also use it for raise power. For example, if you want to do 2 raised to power 4. So if you want to do 2 raised to power 4 now, you are going to use 2 asterisk. 2 asterisk. Are you getting it? So let's do asterisk. Let's try another code. Let's say we want to do 10 raised to power 5. So don't forget, if you use single asterisk, it's going to be multiplication. But if you use double asterisk, it will be raised to power. So in this case, you are raising 10 to power of 5. When you click, can you see it's 1,000? So it's the same thing as 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 in 5 places. Can you see that? It's giving us how much? It's giving us 100,000. Can you see that? You can make it, let's use 10 to the power of 10. Can you see? So it's as straightforward as that. So another thing you can do is take this code. You can also use to take square root of numbers. For example, let's take the square root of 9. When you are using square root, it will be 9 double asterisk then in bracket. If you do not put it in bracket, if you see it as just raising power, it will be like you are raising it to power, but it won't tell you the square. So can you see? Let's see if we remove the bracket from this. Let's see what the value is going to be. Yeah, you see the same thing. But for the purpose of explanation, that's why I put this bracket. When you want to, so let's take the square root of 16. Let's try for 16. 16 space. If you don't put space, it's still going to work. But I said something the other time. It's good to be consistent. Can you see? It's the square root of 16 is 4. Let's do a very large number. Let's the square root of 1,000 or 100. Okay. Can you see this is the square root of 100,000? Can you see that? So whether you put space or you don't put space, it's still going to work. But for the purpose of consistency, put space. If you don't want to put space, let it be consistent. If you want to put space, let it be consistent. So now another operator that also common in Python is what is called modulus. Modulus is to identify the remainder of a division. And the sign for that is, the sign for modulus is percentage. Let me see. To identify remainder of a division. What that means is, if you divide, if you print 10 modulus 5, what this means is print the remainder of 10 when it is divided by 5. When we divide 10 by 5, is it not? Is 0. Do you know why? Let me show you something. Let me show you something. So let's do 10 normally divide by 5 equals to what? 2. But modulus is not to identify the division number, it's to identify the remainder. The modulus is to identify, so the remainder of 10 divided by 5 is 0. That is why you are having 0. You are having 0 in that place. Can you see that? So let me put this note here. So when you divide 10 by 5, the remainder is 0. Can you see that? So now let's now do the same thing for 10 divided by 3. So print 3. So I'm sure if you don't put print, this is likely to work. It's going to work. But like I said earlier, we need to be consistent. If you put it, fine. If you don't put it, it's still going to work. So now, when you do 10 modulus 3 now, it's going to give you 1. Do you know why? Let's do a normal division of 10 divided by 3. So let me put it, let's say print 10 divided by 3. Can you see? When we print 10 normal division of 10 divided by 3, you can see there's a remainder of 3, isn't it? And that is why we are having this 3 here. Let's try another example. Let's use print 20 modulus 6. The remainder of this division is what? Is 2. So when you print it, is 2. So that's what modulus is for. And it's very useful for some mathematical calculation. So any questions so far? Is it straightforward?
Yes, so far straightforward for me.
Okay. So let's go to working with variables. Now, when we are talking about variables, variables are designated values. And yes, let me say, when you assign a particular numbers to a particular value to a particular figure, that is what we call variable. For example, now, I can decide to work with 5, but I don't want to be talking about 5 every time. I can say x equals to 5. So anytime I want to use 5, all I need to do is just type print x. And if you print it, it's going to tell me that x equals to 5. So in this case, this x is a variable. This x is a variable now. And we have already assigned a value. Can you see variables such as s here contain values and the value can vary? We have already assigned a new variable to we have already assigned a variable to x, a variable to x, a value to x. X is the variable, and the value of X is 5. So you can decide to make it any number. Anytime you want to print, so you can see print X, we give you 5, right? So you can perform operations on variables. Yes, you can. So now let's say I want to multiply 50 multiply by X. I don't need to use 5 again. Just put X. It's already defined what X is. The answer will come out as 250. Because this has already, the Python interpreter already know X to be what? To be 5. And 5 times 50 is 250. There's no need for me to be using 5 every time. It's already assigned a value to X. So if you want to ask what is the value of X? 5. Can you see that? And you can decide to say, okay, so we can then, this is 5, right? You can decide to change the value of X. Now the value of X is 5. I can decide to say, okay, let's change it to 20. Let's make X to be 20. There are 2 ways I can do that. I can go back here and change this 20. But if I do this and change 20, I will have to run all this again. But I can decide to say, okay, let me just make it. You can now say X equals to X. Because I want to make this 20, and I know that my X is 5 plus 15, isn't it? Are you? So now I'm changing the value of X from 5 to 20. So X equals to X plus 15, right? Run it. Then now what is the value of X? 20. But if I run this one, now it's good. Once I did this, when I run this one X has been changed to 20. From here, X has been changed to 20. And this one is going to increase. Do you get that now?
Yes, Dr. Doe.
Yeah. So you can change the values of your variables along the way, but just know what you are doing. Now, so our X is no longer 5, our X is now 20. So if you decide to, maybe at a point you want to change this X to another value, let's assume, let's change this to 400. You want to change X to 400. X equals to X multiplied by 20. 20 times 20 will give us 400, right? We can X times X. Now let's say print X. X is, so the value of X is now to 400 because we already changed it. So if you look at what I have here, X variables such as X here contain values and their value can vary. It can change as well. You can decide to change it depending on the nature of the work you are doing. So that is what you are talking about under data type and operators. So let's move because we still have long. So now let's go further. We've identified our X now to be 20. Now, so let's change it back again to let's keep it as 400 that it is, right? Sorry. So you can create a new variables. Create a new variable Y from operation on X. So now, if I want to, if I can decide to change to, you can create a new variables, yes, from X. For example, we want to create variable Y. Let's say we want to create variable Y now. And let's assume 400 is 400 pounds. Let's say assume pounds is the average, is the weight, average weight of everybody on this, everybody in a class, every student. That is the average weight of students in the class. Now, We want to create another variable that will give us the value of the that will give us the multiplication of their average weight and average age. I want to give it, we want to name that multiplication as y. So x is the value of x is the average weight. Then let's now assume the average age in that class is, let's say, is 35. So I want to have multiplication, a product of the two. We can now assign the product of the two to a new variable like y. We can now say y equals to x, which is the average weight, multiplied by average, let's say the average age in that class is 35. Isn't it? Let's print. So now our y is now, anytime you use y, anytime you put y, the value will be 1,000, 14,000. That's 14,000. That's 1,400. So you can make a new variable from an existing variable. So we are making a new variable y from existing variable x. Let's make another variable z. Let's say z now is the sum of x and y. So print z for us. We are making a new variable now called z, is the sum of x and y. Let's do that. Can you see now? So 400 plus 14,000, that's the value of x, the value of y, add together, it gives us the value of z, which is 14,400. And you can decide to print all of them at once. Print z and press enter. Can you see? So it will be arranged based on your code. The first code is x. X is 400, y is 14,000, yz is 14,400. Can you see that? So that's how it is. So you can also use comma to separate them. If you don't want to print them this way, we can say, okay, let's put comma z. Can you see how it arranged them for us? Instead of this way, you can decide to, you can comma separate value to put multiple of the console on one line. If you want to print them on one line, you can just use comma to separate that. So you can also print the result of an expression. You know, before we have been printing print x, print y, you can decide to print of an expression is when we say x multiplied by y, print, it will give you the result. So that's some of the few mathematical things you can do on Python programming language. So let's go to another means, which is called, let's go to getting help. Now, there are times when you are working with, for example, when you are, like I said, there are different operators, different functions on Python. Are you getting me? You can ask Python to tell you the function. What is the, so if you put print, maybe you want to ask Python, what is the function of print on Python and how can I use it? You want to ask that question. Just all you need to do is just type the name of the operator and put comma. So if you look at this, you want to look at len, N-E-N. What is this function? Then we put comma. Look at what it says here. Signature, length object. Return the number of items in a container. Can you see that? The meaning of length is length. It will return the number of objects in a container. I'm going to show you that when we get there. So let's do this for print. Can you see print? Can you see the value? It's going to show down here. It's not going to show here. It's going to show here. It says print value. You can decide to put a comma, separate also, depending on whichever way. So it will give you how you can use this function, how you can use this print, and it will explain to you what it does for you. So if you say print value, you can print value, and how do you use it? You can use it. You can say file. It will explain in detail to you. Anytime you have a function and you don't know how it works, just put that function and put question mark in front of it. Now, another thing here, you can use tab to fill in the rest of the statement. For example, when I want to type print, I can use tab. Tab will complete print for me. Can you see? Maybe you want to print, instead of you to print it everything, just type 1 or 2 letters and press tab. So I only input PR, but it gives to me different functions on Python that start with PR. There's print, property, procurement, proof of income, everything that I already used on this work before. Can you see? So once it gives you, you just press enter on which one you want. Just use up and down console to which one you want. But if you can put I again, to not giving those. Sorry, if you put PRI and press tab, it will print it because I don't have any other file or any other function that starts with PRI. All those ones I showed you before only start with PRO and something else. So pressing tab will automatically finish everything for you. So, and it says a function print. Now, we want to go now to tab completion also work with variable you have created. Now, if you look at the previous variables you have been working with, we've worked with X, Y, and Z. You can make a name to be long. You can make your variables to be long. For example, let me put number underscore. When you want to put a long of number of leap students, I think you guys are about 9. Can you see? When you want to create a variables in Python, don't create variables and put space. No, it's not going to work. Let me do this. Can you see? Invalid syntax. This is as far as Python is concerned, this is a statement it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand. So when you want to do that, you put underscore to link them together. Underscore. So this now is a single variable now. Numbers of leap students. Can you see that? Numbers of leap students. So as far as Python is concerned, this is variable. So this variable, that numbers of leap students that you see here, is the same thing as just putting it as X or Y or Z. But when you are doing some data analysis or some work, it is always good to use this kind of variable name so that you'll be able to know what that variable stands for. For example, if you are working with the average age of leap students, if you just put X, you won't know what X stands for. So you can try to say, okay, average, you can short AVG of average age of leap students. Then the average age of leap students is equal to 25. So now, can you see now? So you know that anytime you want to work with this variable, it's already the average age of leap students. It's different from you just putting X equals to 25. After sometimes you will not even know what X stands for. But using this, after 20 years, if you come to this script again, you already know that you are talking about the number of leap students you have in your class and the average age of these students. So it is always good to use this kind of variables for memory. Can you see I put it there? Tab completion also work with variable you have created. that is a variable in memory. So you have created this variable. So now, if I want to, if you want to type, if I want to work with average age. Now let me press tab to instead of me typing everything to students, just press tab. It automatically completes it for you. Can you see? And let's run it. 25. So average age of this student equals to 25. There's no need for you to type everything. Just type 1 or 3 letters. Press tab. It will complete it for you. If there are numerous variables that start with those 3 letters, it will give you a list of all of them, and you can use the up and down arrow to select which one you are working with. Do you get that? Now, what about errors? You can't divide by 0. Can you divide by 0? Mathematics, no. You can't divide by 6. It already gave us the error. Division by 0. 0 division error, no. You can't divide by 0. So what I was saying the other time, when you are doing some work and you are getting this kind of error message and you are confused, don't stress yourself. Just copy this error message and go to stock flow that I explained the other time, or just copy the error message and put it directly on Google and search it on Google. It will give you different people that have experienced this same type of error, and to give you they will even tell you how you can why you are getting the error and how you can circumvent the error. So for syntax error or how to do something, Google it, or Stack Overflow is a particular good site for code snippet and troubleshooting. You see, anytime you have an error, you can go copy that error and Google it, or you can go to the Stack Overflow site and ask the question from people will respond to you. Because even people that have been working with this programming for years, they experience the same thing. But the good thing is you have a computational community, programming language community that you can go to, and they will give you answer or reason for that error. So let's go further. So now let's go to basic data type. Yes. So we are going to talk about some basic data type. We've talked about some operators, right? So let's go look at some basic data type that we have. Data in Python is interpreted as having a type. Every data in Python they have a particular type. Each of them belong to a type class. A number 1 is different from 1.1. The data type is different in Python. When you put 77477, that's my zip code. If I'm using it as zip code, the way you are going to type it is different from the way you are going to type a number of 77477 for mathematical value. So each of them has their own the type in Python. So in low-level programming like C or C++, the programmer has to explicitly declare the type of each variable before actually using it. In Python, the type is inferred at running time. You can always ask Python what type of the subject of an object is. In other programming language, you have to indicate, but in Python we assign to it. And if you are confused at a point, you can ask Python, what is this type? And how to do that is, the first one is an integer. Integer is when you have a number without a decimal point. For example, when you have, let's use what we are. Let's use average age. Sorry, average age, right? Is 25, isn't it? So if I want to ask what type of data type is average age, what I need to do is just put type in bracket avg. It says an integer. Can you see? It is an integer because it's just a whole number. There is no point. That is an integer. The same thing happens to x. If you say x equals to 125, and you type what is the type of x, if you give you integer, can you see? So integer is when you have a whole number. Are you getting me? When you have a whole number. Now, another data type that we have is the floating point or decimal point. So a floating number is different from an integer. Once it has 0.1, 0.0, 0.2, or whatever point it has, that is called a float number, a float data type rather, a float data type. For example, when we say sum underscore rate equals to 4, let's change this to, let's say price equals to 4.99. You know, that's how we used to see it in the mall, in the store. So now, I want to ask what type of, let's put price. Let's put type and put price. Let's enter. It says float. It's a float number in data because it has point. Anytime, so when there is no point, it's an integer. When there is a point, it's a float data type. Are you getting me now? So another data type we have is what is called strings. String is when you have an alphabetical data type. Alphabetical. For example, you want to put, maybe you want to put a street, country, name. So let's say name equals to, so when you want to put, now look at this, when you want to put an alphabetical number in Python, it has to be in inverted comma. Are you getting me? And if you want to use inverted comma, if you want to use single, double, or triple, you have to be consistent. So let's say name equals to, let's use Karenza. You see, if I do not put this thing in inverted comma, it's not going to work. So now this is a string data type. It's not a float, it is not an integer. It is a string character. It is called string. It is a string character because it is an alphabetical data type. So when we print, it will give you, sorry, yeah, it's name. Can you see name? When you print it, it says string. So the short form for string is str, string. Integer is int. So it says it is a string. So don't forget what I said. Always put inverted comma. If I should this, it's not going to work. It says Karenza is not divine because this is a string and I have to put an inverted comma on top of it. Either single, double, or triple, any one you want to use. So this is a string. So we've talked about integer, a whole number without any decimal. We've talked about float, that's number with decimal point. And we've talked about string data type, that's data type that are alphabetical in number. That's great. So let's go to a list. A list is a collection of elements denoted by square brackets. A list is a collection of elements that is denoted by what? By square brackets. For example, let's look about the age of each person. Let's say we have 5 people on this online now, and we have their age. So this is denoted by square bracket. Sorry, square bracket. So let's say the first person that came to this, that joined this meeting, that watched this video after we've posted it. Let's say the first person's age is 34 space. Second person is 54. The next person is 20. Next person is 15. So 29, and next person is 15. We've created a list. So under this, my list, we have, you can name it each. You can just give it your variable any name. Just make sure that whatever name is given is something you can correlate with the values you are working with. So once I do that, just print, it will give you this. Can you see? So list, that's 34. So when you want to look at what is in your list, 34, 54, 20, 29, 30. This is what is called a list. A list is a collection of elements, collection of value elements or values. Why it is called element is you can also have a string element, apart from number. So let's try this. Let me show you this. Let's have my list 2, my underscore list 2. That first one is 1 equals to, let's say this is 1, this. You can decide to put a string in it. And don't forget, when time you are using a string data type, let's say you want to use Temi, you have to put it in comma. Let's say Temi 2. So if you go there, let's get my list 2 and press. Can you see now? If you do not put Temi here, let's see what will happen. If you not put inverted comma here, can you see? Temi is not divine, because Python understands any alphabetical element to be a string. And if it is a string, there must be an inverted comma on top of it. That is why I'm saying Temi is not divine. I don't know Temi. That's what is trying. Anytime Python says something is not divine, it means I don't know him. I don't know it. So it's left for you to go and define that thing. So for me to define Temi here, I have to put, because this Temi is an inverted comma. So it's a string and has to get inverted comma. If I do it now, it knows they already defined Temi. So can you see that? So now if you want to look at, okay, what is the data type here? Just put type in bracket my underscore list. It will give you is a list. Let's look for my list 2. Let's put, what is the type of my list 2? Press enter. It says it's a list. So it knows different data. We have list, we have string, we have float, we have integer. So it says this is a what? This is a list. So let's go to another one called dictionary. A dictionary is a collection of key value pairs denoted by a curly brace. Now, dictionary is when this dictionary is very straightforward. It's when you have, for example, you have word and opposite, or you have name and age. Let me use one example here. Let's say I want to do, let's talk about people on this online. Let's talk about, let's see John. And I want to put the age of John 20, comma. Now age of Max, sorry, colon 45, right? Space. So like you are having somebody's name and you are putting their name in front. So the name is the key. This John is the key. 30 is the value that I'm assigning to John. Let's put one more. Let's say 10. 10 is 50, right? So let's do this. Now, I think you can see that you can put print or just put the pet name. So can you see? It knows that John it's anytime you see this, you know, John is 30 years. So let's put this one as person age. So if that is what you are doing, age. Can you see? John is 30, Max is 45, Ken is 50. That is a dictionary. It has the key and the value pairs together. The key and the values pair together. Let's try what if you want to know data type of this, just it is it's a dictionary. That's a dictionary. Let's do an example of a list. Let's look for different county and their respective zip code. Yes. So let's call it county zip code. So let's suggest, can somebody suggest their county name and a particular zip code? We want to create, don't forget, if you are creating a list, this coffee comma brace should be there, right? So let me start. My county is, let's say Irish, right? 77477, comma. Somebody should give one example. It may not just just give any name. It may not be the real one, just for us to.
Tarrant, Tarrant.
Okay, Tarrant.
76002.
76002. Can you see that? Comma. Let's see Ben. Let's put another county called Ben, example. And let's say that one is 70002. Can you see that? So let's print. So if maybe you are doing a study and that study requires you to get the county code for every counties in Texas, in Washington, or anywhere, or Dallas, or anywhere. So instead of you cramming that, you can just create a dictionary that has the key, that's the county, and their respective zip code. Now, but in this, sorry, if it is zip code, it's not a number. Zip is not a number. So it's not a number that you can multiply with, so you can put it in brackets. I'm going to show you one example of that. We are using this number as a string now. So let's print, let's put county. Can you see that now? So it has each counties with their respective zip code. And now let's look what is the data type of this. Let's look for the data type. Just put type in bracket county and press enter. It says it's a dictionary. So where is there are times you'll be doing some work and you forget, maybe you are trying to do a multiplication of number and it's saying that number is not going because you don't have the correct data type. So you have to ask, okay, am I multiplying an integer with a string, which is not possible. You cannot multiply 30 multiplied by John. It's mathematically it can't work. So if you encounter such a thing, you should know that you have to go and look for the data type of those values you are multiplying. So let's work with some data type. Now, one of the working with data type requires is we work in data type. One of the best ways you can, I put some URL address here where you can read more about Python data type. You can read more, but I have so many. So, for example, now let's divide two integers and you will get an integer. So in this case now, we are going to represent each number. So let's say this is, let's say h1 equals to 10, h2 equals to 2. Are you getting it now? Now you can decide to you can decide to divide. So now let me try to explain what this is. So when you divide two integers, you can ask for the type of result you are going to get. For the type of data you are going to take, for the type. So if we divide, let's divide age 1 divided by age 2. Now we want to know the type of the data we are going to, the result you are going to get, right? So let's put print bracket sorry, I'm sorry, it should, I want to know type, not the type now. One divided by 2, right? It says a float. Is it a float? One divided by, yes, it's a float, of course. You know, let's do this. Let's do this. No, I'm not supposed to print. Okay, let's print. Let's say age 1 divided by age 2. Age 1 is 10, age 2 is 5. First of all, what is the value of age 1 divided by age 2? It says 2.0. And don't forget, what type of data type is 2.0? When there is point, is a float, right? So we now say, okay, what type of data type it is? It says a float. It is a float because there is point there. Can you see that? It is 0 because it is float because there is point. If it is ordinary 2, it will be integer, but it is 0.0. That is a floating number. At the same time, you can divide two integers using their variables. Num1 is 8, num2 is 5, num1 divided by num2 is what? Num2 is what? 1.6. So instead of saying 8 divided by 5, you can use their respective variables to do your division. Let's go. Now, let's look at let's look at this. I put some notes. I purposely put all this note for understanding. We really want them to be diving O floating number because we want a decimal result. If num1 equals to 8.0 now, when you print num1, the type of the data class, right? So let's look at this together. The num1 is equal to 8.0. Print data type of num1. Ordinarily looking at this an integer, a string, or a float? Anyone? Is this 8.0 an integer, floating number, or a string?
It's a float.
It's a float. When you print it, can you see the first thing that comes is a float? The second one, num2 is equal to 5. Print the data type of num2. 5 a string, a float, or a string? Integer.
Integer.
Integer. So can you see the second one is integer? The same thing now. When you now have num3 now, the result of that's dividing 1 by 2 will give us num3. Now, print that. So 8 divided by 5 give us 1.6. Is this a floating string or integer?
Of a float.
That's why it's a float. So that's how it is. So another thing I have to put, when you are putting your code into any programming language, you have to be orderly. Make it simple as make it as much as possible for you to be able to read your code in the coming days or years or months, or for other people to be able to work with it, with your code. Now let's go to string now. Yes. So some of the operators we saw earlier work on strings. Yes, but there are ways that string works separately on its own. Like I have some example. Let's say city is equals to Berkeley, right? I will use this example and we are going to do one together. So city equals to Berkeley, right? And don't forget that anytime this is a string data type, right? Don't forget to use your comma. Now, we want to put a separation, comma. State Berkeley is in California, and the zip code of Berkeley is 94703. Zip code in this case is not an integer, it's not a number, it's a zip code. You can't, there's no way you are going to work with a zip code and multiply anything with it. It's just a 4-digit number. It's not an integer that you can multiply with. So it's a string and you have to put it there. So you can now say your location is equals to city plus step equals to comma plus state plus this double space means space plus zip code. And you can see location, city is what? Berkeley plus SEP is this comma. Can you see the comma? Plus state, California, plus this means the space, plus zip code. This. So there is a you can let's do one example. Let's assume you want to send address to someone. Maybe, okay, let's assume you want to say the age of someone. You can maybe want to say Max is Max. Okay, Max will be 10 years. 10 years old in the year 2022. Let's say you want to say that, but you want to use code to do that, right? Max will be 10 years. Sorry, assuming you want to print this string. You see that now. So assuming you want to do that now. Now, and you want to use this format. I just want to see that how you can add different strings together to make a statement. The first thing there is Max. So you can say name equals to Max is a string. Therefore, you have to put an inverted comma. Max, isn't it? Are you there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
now,
sir.
You want to use the free because will be is a future tense. Will be. So let's just put future as FUT. Will be right. Now age now equals to 10 years old. Right? Now year equals to sorry, yeah, don't forget I have to put a string in the year 2022. Year 2022. So that's that. Yes. Year 2022. So just put some space. Sorry, please. Come. Now we have this now, right? So I want, let's do some. So now let's now put this statement. Let's call it statement. It equals to, so let's do name space plus, right, fruit plus age plus year, right? So let's print statement, right? Can you see what happened here?
Yes.
Is it right?
No, it did spaces in between it. So it should be an underscore. No.
That's separation.
We should put space.
Yeah.
If you look at this, can you see what they did here?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So let's go again and come here and put plus. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's try this. Let's do this. So there is a way, that's how you can put strings together to make a statement. So let's see what this is going to give us. Do we have the correct one now?
Yes, sir.
Max will be 10 years old in the year 2022. Can you see? So apart from you adding numerical values together, like 10 plus 10, and num1 plus num2 giving you a value, you can also at the same time use this addition to add string together to make probably a statement. You get that? Let's go. So now, in this case now, if you look at this, what I'm coming, do you get it up to that point?
Yes.
Okay, I know you guys still have to go and sit down and do this, but I'm telling you, it's really straightforward, and that's why I sent you the Python notebook so that you can work on it on your own and even do some numerous examples apart from the one I'm using now. Now, this. So now let's go back to the zip code stuff again. When you say zip code is equals to this, right? Now the zip code 02492 isn't actually a number. And this is what I want you to know. This zip code, this is 0249. Is it an integer, float, or a string? Answer.
A string.
A string, because we already put inverted comma on it. So it cannot come. So this is a string. So let's say print type of this zip underscore code. It says a string. Can you see that? It says what? A string. And you cannot multiply a string by an integer. What it will do is it will only duplicate it. If you look at this now, let's say this zip code, this 240249 multiplied by 4. Can you see what we have? What does it do? What did you see here? It duplicates this in 4 places. Hello, do you get that? This is 040249 to 0249 to 0249 in 4 places. So when you multiply an integer with a string, it's not good, because ordinarily, ordinarily you will think this is a number. Okay, let me use one clear example. Let me say zip underscore code 2 equals to, let's say, 100. This is not an integer, it's a string. So it's not a number that you can multiply with. Ordinarily, someone that doesn't know much about Python will think it is 100 now. It is 100, we can multiply by any number. But that is not the case. Let's multiply this zip code 2 by, by 3. And let's see the answer. Can you see what the answer? 100 in 3 places. You just duplicate. It will duplicate. So let me put it under this so that it costs. Because I'm still going to send you this so that you can have a better look of this whole thing. So this ordinarily is 100, but because we already put inverted comma, the Python interpreter will see it as a string and not as an integer. And that is why when you multiply it with any number, it will only duplicate it in the number of times you are multiplying it with. Can you see that now? So now, don't forget when we talk about location here, right? And location is Berkeley, California 94 zip code, right? Now, when you print it, it says location, print location. Okay. Location not div. Okay, yeah. So location, our location is Berkeley, California 9470. That's the same way as what do we have? The second example we use, statement, right? Statement is Max will be 10 years old in the year 2022, right? Now, there is a function called lens. What lens? I think I used that as an example for the other time. It returns the number of items in a container. And I will show you what that means now. So how many numbers, how many items, including space, including alphabet, that we have in lens, in location? 26. Let me do the same thing for statement. I'm still coming back to that. Let's do lens for statement. Statement 41 is counting so where did anybody guess where this 26 and 41 are coming from? Okay, without wasting our time. So the number of elements, the number of items in location, the value of location is this, Berkeley, California, right? So let's count this one by one from B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, including space. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So every items, including space and comma and the alphabet in location is what? 26. And let me give you something. When you are filling your form on, when you are filling a form on the internet, and it says you can only put certain number of words or character. Have you ever come across that in the internet?
Yes.
That is the function they are using. They will set it that whatever you are typing on this must not be beyond certain number of length. So anytime you type more than that, it won't accept it. So that's one of the things they use this length to do. So let's go to statement. Let's count statement. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. That's where we get the 41 from. Do you get that? That is where we get the 41 from. That's fine. Another thing we can do is you can use a function to know a particular alphabet or item on what you are doing. For example, if you want to know which, there's what is called index in Python. Index is, when we count this, we start from 1 to 41, right? But index start from 0. It will be 0 to 40 now, right? So when you want to know what particular letter or number is on a particular index, you can get the number of elements from an iterable object like a string with this bracket indexing notation. Remember, in Python, this index starts with 0, not 1. Let me try to show you what I mean by this. For example, if I want to print what item or alphabet is on index 0 on the statement on location, Berkeley, California, all I need to do is, let me print, comma, location. I'm looking at index. I have to use this bracket. 0. Enter. Can you see it's what? B. Letter B is on index 0. And don't forget, I said the other time, indexing on, I even have it here, indexing on Python starts from 0. So in index number 0 is letter B. So let's look for which index is on index number. Let's go, let's choose, let's say 10 and 16. Let's print. Can you see? So index number 0 is what? Is B. 1. This is 0, 1 is E. 25. Let's do it. Let's count this together. 25. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's E. Sorry, that's 3. That's number 3, right? Now the next one is 10. So let's go from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's C. Can you see? For 15, if you count that, it's going to be O. It's going to be O. Can you see that? So you can do the same. We can also use the same thing for, let's do the same thing for statement. So that means if you print this, so we have to change this to statement, right? Statement. So to do that, just put print bracket, number bracket, the elements you are concerned. So with the object you are concerned, then this bracket and the number of index you are interested in. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let's do that. Can you see for that? Can you see this for that? Can you see? So that's how to, by the time you get to advanced level, you will know that all these things I've been talking about, they are really useful. By the time you are writing program, we see that they are very useful. Let's go on 10 minute break, right? So let's move to the next. Yes, now you can get a subset of the items in a particular object. You know, you can see how we are able to get the particular index item from statement and the location variables we are working with. So now I try to put this location so that we can remember that. Now, you can get a subset. What I mean by a subset is you can extract, maybe if you want to extract a particular point from here, you don't want to work with the whole thing, and you want to extract maybe from here to here. You can extract a subset from that. And to do that is using, type the variable, in this case location, and use this bracket. Now let's assume we want to extract ordinary California, isn't it? So it will start from C and end on A, right? And let's use for example. So to do that, what is the index of C? Let's count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So 10, you put 10. So it means it should start from index number 10, then put colon. We want it to stop on E. What is the index of E? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19. If we should put 19 here, it will stop on 19, but 19 will not be involved. So in that case, we have to make it to be 20. 20, and let's press enter. Can you say California? So when you want it to start from a particular index, then the index you want to stop, you put one index on it. So for this, if you put 20, let's put 19. You will see that the A will not be there. It will be California, right? But because you want to, in that case, you have to make it to be 20. 20. So we start from C and end at 20, but 20 will not be included in it. So we extract California from it. But if you want it to start from 0 and end resident in California, what you need to do is, what we do is put this. Then there are two ways you can do that. You can say, okay, 0, index 0 to 20. Let's see what that, can you see what that? So it takes from index 0 to California and cut out all this. Another way you can do that is to just put location, the bracket, just colon, and 20. So you putting 0 here and not putting anything at all to say they are the same thing. Enter. You see, they are still the same. So you can make a subset of something, and you can decide to give this subset a new name. You can say, okay, let's call this. So this is just, let's call this county and state. So let's say county underscore state, right? So you just give it location, right? 20. So you can say print county underscore state, Berkeley, California. So can you see how we bring a subset from Berkeley, California 9703? Can you see how we are able to extract ordinary California from it, and how we're able to extract Berkeley, California from it? So it's the same rule, and I also give more example here. So one other thing that is important is you can replace character in a string with the function replace. Yes, you can replace character in it with the function replace. If you look at what we have here, we have California, Berkeley, right? Let's now put, let's put, if you put this, excuse me. So if you have a place, if you look at near is good, right? So what we are trying to do here is we want to place is good. So Berkeley, California is good this. What you have to do is you use this function replace. This function replace, and you put whatever. So let's try to put is bad and press this. Can you see that? So you can replace characters using this function location dot replace. If you want to do the same thing with those statements that we use the other time, the statement variables, we can also do the same thing. So let's go to converting between data types. It is possible to convert a float to an integer to a float, or converting a string to an integer. It is possible to do that. You can, for example, when we have the zip code 09492 is a string, right? But if you want to use it as an integer, you can convert it to an integer. Let's look at this. This is the zip code, right? And if you look at this type is string. So you can convert the zip code string to an integer. And to do that, all you just need to do is just give zip code name and use int. It means integer. So using this int means you want to convert zip code. You now put zip code in underscore code. Can you see that? So this int is integer. It means we are converting this an integer. You are converting zip underscore code to an integer. And if you click it, can you see this now? So if you type the data type, let's type the type now. It's not going to be a string any longer. Don't forget it was a string here, but now it will be an integer. So we've successfully converted string to an integer. So in this case now, we cannot do a mathematical calculation. If you remember this, please, we should do it here because it's still a string. We do it here by 3. We are going to get a different. Sorry, because okay, that already converted here. Yeah. I'm looking at what's changed there. Okay, so because you already have it done here, that's why it's giving us
because
that.
you converted it at the bottom part.
Because
already.
I already converted at the bottom, so it's still acknowledging that. So I'm coming. Let me start from. I just want to know. Okay, the mistake I made, I should have just put it. Okay, it's fine. But you understand what I'm trying to say there? If it's still a string, it will have been. Let me show that I won't.
So if it was still in string, it would have written that code 3 times like you wanted to do.
Exactly. It's because I already converted it here. But let me try to fix that so that when I'm sending these to everybody, at least there won't be. Yeah. Okay. So I think it should be fine now. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's back. So can you see? So when you already work on it, it's no longer recognizing. So you've updated it. So once you've run the command here, everything has been changed from up. So you have to be careful. So you can see it's a string here, but when we convert it to an integer and we type for it, it says an integer. So when we multiply it by 3, let's multiply it by 3. Can you see it's giving us a real value, of which here it's not giving us a real value. So that's that. So can you see? So we'll multiply, and you can decide to say, okay, x equals to 3, x, I showed you this the other time. So x equals to 3, x times 3, which is 6. Then y equals to string to x. Y equals to string of x, multiply by this, and we have 3. So let me try to. So we say x equals to 3, right? Then print x. That's 3 times 2 equals to 6, right? So y equals to. So let me show you. I think that I should have put a note here. Let me just put a space. So x equals to 3. So we print x multiplied by 2 is 6, right? But now we convert x, which is an integer, now to y, which is a string. Do you get that? So ordinarily x is 3 and it is an integer, right? So when you multiply x by 2 is 6. But now we are given another variable called y. So we are converting an integer to a string. That's why we have str in bracket x. So that's why when you multiply y is now is a string. It's no longer an integer. When you multiply y by 2, that's why you are getting double 2. Let me use 10. You see? But ordinarily, if x is still an integer, it will have been 30. But because we already converted x to be y, which is a string, that's why we are having 3 in 10 places. Do you get that? So the int function won't convert a string that looks like a floating point number. Now, when you have a string that look like a floating number. If you look at this 2500.00, it's a string, right? Because we have comma is in comma, right? But is what I can call a string float. So just let me use one example to show that. So let's assume we have z equals to 2500, right? Let's print type of z. So 2500 here is what is integer, right? So let's have z2 equals to 2500.00, right? Type of z2. Okay, sorry, let me use print so that we can have the two. Print. Now, you can see z equals to 2500, right? This is an integer. Z2 is 2500.00. It is a float, right? Now, when you now have let's have a normal, let's have z3 equals to 2500, right? Print type z3. So the first one, z equals 2500, is an integer. Z2 2500.00 is a float. Z3 in inverted comma 2500 is string, right? It is easy for me to convert, let's say Z4, so I can convert this Z3 to an integer, right? Let's say convert Z3. Now print type of Z3. Okay, so okay, so it's C4, it should be C4. So can you see now? I've converted the Z3, which was an integer, which is an integer, right? Sorry, a string. I've converted it to Z4, which is an integer now. I can do that. But when you now have a string that look like a float, let me use this example. Let me use the example like so. Now let me see. Let me now convert. You see, I'm able to convert this. So let's have, I think we should have one more here. So let's now have Z5 equals to 2500.00. Can you see? Let's print type of Z5. Can you see? This C5 is different, is also a string, just like C3. But Z3 is also C3 is a string, right? Right? And Z5 is also a string. I was able to convert C3 to C4 to an integer, which is C4, isn't it? But I cannot convert C5 to an integer because when you have a string in form of a float, you can't convert it to an integer. Let's try that. Let's say Z6 equals to integer. Let's convert C5 now to an integer. Can you see? invalid literal or integer with beast. No, it's not going to go because I have this Z5, which is a string float. And that's what I said, the integer function won't convert a string that look like a floating point number. But if this 0.00 is not there, like we have for Z3, you can convert it. So I purposely use that example. I want us to finish this slide so that we start from, so let's hope by 7:30, 7:40 we are going to be through. So, but you can daisy chain function either to convert the string to a float, then to an integer. Now, you can see from here, you cannot convert Z5 to a string, right? You could not convert you could not convert C5, which is a string, in form of a float to an integer. But there is a way we can do that by converting them, by first of all converting it to a float and then convert it to an integer. Let me make it simple here. So let's convert Z5 to a float first. Z5 to a float. Are you getting it? After you have done that, now convert it. No, sorry. Yes. Let's call this one Z7. We convert it to a float. So, ordinarily we could not convert Z5 to an integer. But now what we can do is, first of all, convert to a float. That's one. So we do that. So 2 now. Convert to an integer. So that will now be Z8 equals to int of Z7. So let's print the type of Z7 now. Print type of Z8. Can you see now? So it was difficult for us to convert this 2500.00 to an integer, but we can do it one by one. Like, first of all, convert it to float and convert it to an integer. So you can do that. The same thing goes to this. You cannot concatenate a string and a number. You cannot combine. Can you add x plus y together if you do not define what x is? So in this case, we have 60 is equals to Houston. Zip code is equal to this. This zip code is an integer. You want to add it together, you not go. Can you see they cannot concatenate not integer to string? So you cannot concatenate a string together with an integer. If this is an integer, it will go. If this is an integer, you can concatenate them together, you can add them together. If this is a string, you can add them together. It will be Houston plus this. But this is a string, this is a string, this is an integer. You cannot do that together. Another thing is, so in this case, you can convert number first, then concatenate. So in this case, city is Houston, right? Zip code is an integer. You can convert Houston zip code to a string and add them together. So let's do this. So let's make, so we want to convert zip code to an integer, right? It's now an integer. So once it's an integer, then let's now add city plus zip code. Sorry. Now this is zip code. We just okay. Okay, let me try this. Okay. Why is city Berkeley? Oh, sorry, don't mind me. You never did this. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. So I think we can let's still do it the way we are doing it. Yeah. Okay, I think I get what is happening. Is C, so let's do it together. City plus. Yeah, so let me delete this. So you can delete a cell if you are not using it. Yeah. So you can see we're able to convert zip code to a string. So you can add string to string, you can add integer to integer, but you cannot add string plus integer or integer plus string. So if you want to do it in this case, it's either we convert, in this case, we convert our string. You cannot convert string to integer, it's not possible. The only option is to convert zip code to an integer, to a string. And that is what we do, and that is what we got there. So let's go back to list. We talked about what list is the other time. So my list equals, so we have a new list now, called my list equals to 2, 4, 6, 8. So how many elements can you have here? You can do that by using the function length. Length is len, you remember? And it says 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I also show how we can know the function of this. The same thing like what we had for the other time. You can know the index. Index 0 here is what? Is 2. So index start from 0, 0, 1. So index is 2. So now let's try this one. Let me show you. My list. Let's look for index 3. Index 3 is 8. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 8, right? Now, in this list, let me remind you what list is. My underscore list. So in this list now, you can decide to change what you have here. You can update elements in a list because it is mutable. You can adjust what is here. For example, if you want to replace index 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2. If you want to replace 6 by 100, just click on, just put my list, index number 2. This is 0, 1, 2. 6, that is 6, equals to 2. What it means is you are replacing index number 2, which is 6, by 100. Let me use another example. Let's switch index 4. Let's change number 4 to 200. My underscore list, right? 4 is index what? 0, that's 1. Equals to 250. Let's say 250. Let's print my list. So my list is no longer, is now 256, 8. But so can you see that? That is the way it is. You can change the content of a list by using this function we've talked about. Now, we can also add a new element with the word append. Yes. If you want to add a new element, if you look at what we have here, we have, look, if you look at what we have, my list, let me remind you what my list is. My underscore list 25008, right? Now, if I want to add, if you want to add something to it, let's say you want to add, let's say you want to add another value. Let's say you want to add 50. Just say my underscore list dot append. Append is the function. Append is the function. Append. So let's say we are adding 500 now, right? And let's know what my list looks like now. After we've done that, can you see? We have added, this is the original one. Now we've appended a new number. That's 500. So we have 256, 8, 500 now. You can also add list of concatenate items. When you have different items together, like 1, 2, 3, as a list, but not divine now. Plus this, you can add them together and you add it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can add 2 lists together, whether you have them. So okay, let's try something. Let's see, which I believe is going to work. So let's have another my list 2, which is equals to, let's say 12, this, right? So let's try to add my list 1 and my list 2 together. Just to confirm that my list plus my list 2. Can you see? We're able to add my list. So it's either you have it directly here, not define, or you can define what. It's either, you see, in this place they are not defined. Just one. We just have 1, 2, 3 list, 4, 5, another list. We add it together. Alternatively, you can define them. My list 1 equals to is this. My list 2 is this. So add list my list 1 plus my list 2. We have everything. So if we go, my list 1 is 0, 250, 2, 256, 8, 500. Can you see? It comes first. Then adding my list 2, which is 12, 34, 43, 12, 34, 40. Can you see that? It's as simple as that. I'm back to dictionary. We talk about dictionary the other time. Now, example, you want to look at antonyms, word and opposite. So don't forget, I said we use a coffee bracket for dictionary. So synonyms is hot, cold, fast. So and don't forget, I said dictionary has keys and value. So key and value, in this case, the key is hot, the value is cold. Let's say cold, hot, cold, fast, slow, good, bad. Let's add one more. Let's say boy. No, it has to be boy, girl, right? So then if you print it now, so we have boy, girl. So now when you want, so you can decide to look, okay, you can access things in the dictionary using its key. So when you want to look for, okay, maybe you don't know the opposite of boy, for example, or the opposite of odds. All you just need to do is just type the variable in then the bracket and put whatever you are looking for, and to give you the automatic opposite. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's look. Let's say we want to know the opposite of boy. So to be Anthony, right? Or not this bracket, yes. Boy. It is, can you see? We only type boy, it gives us the opposite because you already assigned the key and the value. So when you type the key, you get the value. You see, when you type the key, you get the value. And at the same time too, you can update values. You can decide to change. Maybe you don't want it to be hot. You don't want it to be. You want it to be. You don't want it to be cold. You want it to be freeze. You see, you want it to be free instead of cold. You want it to be freezing. Just put antonyms of hot equals to so freezing. So by automatically when you search for this, it will replace cold. So you are changing this is the key hot, and you want to change the value. So you are changing the value of hot, freezing. So the value is cold. We've changed it to freezing now. So can you see that now? So this initially was cold, but now it has changed to freezing. So then if you want to look for the specific key, if you want to look for the specific key in a dictionary, just type the key. Just type, for example, if you want to look for the keys in antonyms that we look, just say put key, just enter. If you want to look for values, just put, okay, I already have it here. So let me just delete it. So we want to look for values, just put values, and to give you the list of values that you have there. You get that? So you can do all these things. These are different data type and operators that you can come across in Python. So far, so good. So please kindly to understand this and to be a master of it, I will advise you take time to go over them. They are volatile, to be sincere, and you have to read over and over. No, you have to practice over and over, and even watch more videos, reach more. That's why I'm able to provide some URL address that will give you some more insights. I think I have one. Can you see? You can read this and practice this, and that is how the Python programming works. You start from the basic and gradually we advance to the top of it. Thank you. I believe you understand and you guys understand very well. Right? Any question?